is Karina. I go by Kartsi on social media, and today's video is part of a series in which I am bringing the Kyoshi warrior uniform to life. When I first started this series, I didn't know what to expect. I had done costumes before, but this was an entirely new adventure that forced me out of my comfort zone and involved many trialing moments. You all know the result of my efforts, how I accomplished what I wanted and more, but do you know the stories behind the camera? How many interesting side characters there are for the Kyoshi warriors. This project began when I pitched a costume to the company Cosplay to be selected as one of their 30 finalists in their contest. But when I first noticed this contest, the deadline for my application was the next day, so I got to work immediately recording a detailed explanation of what I would be doing and how I would use their product in my costume. But the Kyoshi Warrior cosplay was an idea a month before this. I had been binging Avatar with my friends before Netflix even said they were streaming the series. And it was during a late night conversation about what we would want to be in Avatar that I realized I wanted to be a Kyoshi warrior. There are many things I made for the costume that I am proud of, but there is one thing I never talk about, and that is the katana. Now originally I was going to make a katana video for the Kyoshi Warrior series, and I actually got quite far. But during the building process, I made a grave mistake with the blade, and it completely ruined it. I was going to originally restart the blade and try again, but I was spending so much time on foam props that I realized that I was getting nowhere with the rest of the costume. So despite this one side of me that wanted to make another blade entirely, I dropped it, and I continued on with the series. And I believe that is the best thing that I did, because if I spent so much time on this blade, I would have never done what I had done for the rest of the costume. Hello, my name is Karina. I go by Kartsi on social media, and today's episode of the Kyoshi Warrior series is going to be different. Yeah. So welcome to my Kyoshi Warrior training. I am by no means an expert at any of this. All of this is very much an experiment, and I'm trying to learn as much as I can with the resources I have available. Okay. It is day 6, and I have just gotten my fans. They just arrived today. What you're seeing now is the bare bones of a little episode I was going to make called My Kyoshi Warrior Training, which is basically me trying to get in shape and to stretch out my body so that I could do a couple moves with my fans and familiarize myself a little bit with the martial arts of Avatar. More specifically of the Kyoshi Warriors. I did accomplish my goal with this though, which was I did increase some of my flexibility, and part of the reason why my flexibility increased was because of all of the stretches I did while I was weaving the Waraji shoes, because I was in a position with my legs stretched out with my arms nearly touching my toes for several hours, and that significantly helped my mobility. And without anyone knowing, I secretly would wake up early in the mornings, and I would be continuously practicing a routine with the fans. The whole goal of this was just to be able to do a couple moves in costume, and I believe I succeeded in that part. And this was actually really good for me because a lot of what I do has me sitting down because I do a lot of sewing, editing, and drawing. So being able to move around and get a little bit active was good for my mental health. So my power just went out for the whole area of where I live. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be painting in the dark. Not the smartest idea, but just like in the olden times when you got a little bit of sunlight, you use the sunlight before it's gone. And because of daylight savings, the sun's gonna be setting even earlier today, so I'm wondering if the power is even gonna come back on before sunset. But that's alright. I'm just here painting. Right now I'm putting on brown paint, try to make the fan look like it's wooden. So yeah, the reason why I'm recording and painting is because the only thing that works right now is my phone and the camera. The camera is already charged, so if I'm using the camera,
then like, it's not that big of a deal. My phone, on the other hand, loses battery more quickly, and most likely, like, I can't recharge it, so I'm saving my phone. And the only thing I can do right now is either read or paint, so I'm painting.
A detail you may not have noticed in the reveal video was the first outfit I wore. I had an indigo and white pattern item of clothing an uncle of mine had brought back from a trip to Japan. After some research, I believe this item is called a namaki. A namaki is worn in the home or in the bathhouse, and I used it for two reasons. One, I wanted to stay as true to Japanese dress as I could in order to portray my Kyoshi warrior as realistic as possible, and this garment was perfectly appropriate for her to start out in before putting on her uniform. My second reason was because of the color of the namaki. If you notice, the citizens of Kyoshi Island don't wear green, they wear blue. This is possibly because of their close proximity to the southern water tribes, and another possibility is a creation of a disconnect between them and the Earth Kingdom, since originally Kyoshi Island was connected to the Earth Kingdom but then separated by Kyoshi herself, so there might be some sort of line of division and trying to get away from a certain culture. Since the beginning of this project, I had in my head this vision of the garments that I make in the process for the costume to be folded neatly and properly in the set as my warrior dresses up. And this is exactly what I did. So I did some research how to fold these garments properly. The kimono proved the most difficult because it is not a traditional kimono shape. However, I did make it with the intention of having it be able to lay out completely flat, which is what a lot of traditional garments are able to do. So with some practice, I was able to fold the kimono in a way that mimicked reality well enough to exist. Now the hakama was something that I was really excited to fold because I had seen so many videos of people folding hakama beautifully. My folding of hakama could be a little bit better. As I was folding it, I realized I could have made my himo a little bit longer, but overall I was really happy with how it turned out, and it just filled me with so much happiness just looking at it all pretty and folded. In my other videos, I covered the building process of the costume, but one thing I never showed you was how I created the reveal video, specifically my set. This set was made completely with random items I had at home and was set up in a spare room in my house. It was a complete illusion and required specific camera angles to give the effect I was going for and to keep up the fantasy. The clips you're seeing right now is footage of me taking down the set. As you can see, as I strip down each layer by layer, slowly you get to see the mystery behind the magic. How a lot of it was mats, wood, and cardboard. One thing we had to completely look out for was the top edge of the set. I am a relatively tall human being standing at 8.5 feet, and the bamboo wall detail was too short for me, so a lot of work was done to avoid the height issue by coming up with different camera angles to avoid it. Something that was to be expected as I continuously wore the costume several times for photo shoots and for recordings of the series was the makeup getting on the costume. I tried as much as possible to provide a separation from the makeup to the costume, but sometimes when I was moving around, trying to wield fans, or even just trying to look behind myself, I would end up staining parts of the kimono and the armor with the white makeup. This was probably the most annoying part of the costume, to be honest, because I would have to be constantly keeping my head a certain position and being completely conscious that any motion I make could possibly stain a part of the garment, and then we'd have to clean it, and then I would have to wait for it to dry. And it was just a process of making sure that I wasn't getting makeup on other parts of the costume as I proceeded to record myself and act as a Kyoshi warrior for my film. Overall, this costume took a lot of work. Not only did I build it, but I also was filming it. And filming it took a lot of energy because I was using a different skill set that I hadn't before. I had to plan a photo shoot, which required me to see if any of my friends were available to help me out, and then organizing myself to prep a day where I could just fully dedicate it to the shoot, spending hours putting on the costume, and then going out and taking photos. Plus setting aside days to build a set, record in the set, take retakes because there was a problem at one point, but somehow I managed it, and I am so happy with how this costume came out. I thank God every day for allowing me to be able to do what I do and for giving me strength to get through these projects. They really are time consuming and energy consuming, but it's a process I'm starting to really love doing, and I can't imagine myself not continuing to do stuff like this in the future. I want to thank you all for following along with this series, for seeing me grow, for seeing the costume come to its complete conclusion, and I hope you will stick around because I have a lot of projects planned for my channel, and I'm going to continue to push myself to be able to do things that I never thought I could do. And with that, the Kyoshi Warrior project has come to a close. Thank you all for watching. Some of you may have seen on my Instagram that I posted this photo, which is also the thumbnail of this video, and just to give you a quick little story, so 2 times while I was in costume, I went to Chick-fil-A because obviously I was on the go and I was hungry and a warrior needs her chicken. So as I was in the drive-thru for the first time, the first 2 people who took our order and obviously like we gave the card to pay didn't notice me in the passenger seat. And then when we drive up to to the side of Chick-fil-A where they hand you your order, the guy starts coming towards us. He hands us, and then he starts to say something, but then he sees me, and then lurched back, and I felt so bad that I scared this poor employee who was giving me my meal, but at the same time I was like, huh, I was wondering if someone was gonna notice. Yeah, the other time I went to Chick-fil-A was a little bit uneventful. So one person didn't notice, another person did notice, but they were actually really nice about it and actually knew who I was, meaning what the costume was, so it was a cool short conversation. And then the third guy hands me my meal, looks at me, says nothing, and just walks away. And it makes me wonder if what weird things has he seen in this drive-thru that a Kyoshi warrior doesn't even shock him anymore. Anyway, in conclusion, I accidentally scared a Chick-fil-A employee. But it was fine, I got my chicken.